Hey guys, welcome back. It's Dave. It's been a minute since our last video. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to put one on here that's gonna kind of bring back to the top the double Paceline grid. I've done one in the past on double Pacelines. The double Paceline grid is actually in the download for the deluxe tutorial. I don't have a double Paceline grid in the grid download for the book, the paperback, but I'm going to put one in there when this video is over. So if you have the paperback book from Amazon, pace progression model, you will now have access to a double Paceline grid. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I've been using the double Paceline grid. And it's kind of a duplicate of the last video that was kind of way back when I did the double Paceline grid before, when I introduced it. This is not a new model grid. This is the same grid as before. It ends with the late pace figure. There is no fitness rating or race rating or anything on here. So as you can see, I jump around from grid to grid. And what it does, it keeps all the grids fresh in my head. And if I find that maybe a certain variable or factor is tweaking and it's not working, what I'll do is I'll move to something else. I'll move from double Paceline. After a while, I'll move back to single Paceline. But one thing I do recommend, if you're using double Paceline and you're still not quick with your mental math and your adjustments from time to ratings, I would make sure you do these races plenty enough ahead of time that you're not having to rush and keep looking how much time you have to post, because then that's where you're going to be susceptible and making mistakes. And when you're evaluating your summary grid in the end, you're going to rush through it. So give yourself a lot of time. Even if you are quick with your factoring and your math, I still would give it a lot of time ahead of time if you can. Like, I'm going to do Oaklawn Park for tomorrow, and the first thing I'm doing is, which I always do, is I'm picking and choosing the races ahead of time that fit the model. And I said before, what I mean by fit the model is, can I get my data that I need to give me an accurate evaluation of this summary grid in the end? If I have to fish and look for races that I probably shouldn't be using, but I'm pulling data from them, if there's too many horses that fit that issue or intangible, I'll pass on that race. So what I'm looking at is I'm looking at Oaklawn 4 for tomorrow. But before I even jump to it, I want to give you a couple other recommendations. When you're using the double Paceline grid, I would go from your PP generator, I would go File, and print all races. And what it'll do is that, and you want to click this box here, print the file, hit print, save it, and then when you can open that up in your PDF editor, and you'll be able to identify ahead of time, like I did, which races are going to be your two Pacelines that you're going to use for this double Paceline grid. So what you're doing is you're getting the same exact information from the PP generator, but it's now you're able to edit it as well. And the other good thing about this is once you have your grid complete, you can now go back and you can edit class drops. You could put circles on your class droppers. You could look for your, how many next out winners were in the top 3 in the last race, moves in the race, and so forth, which you can't do on the PP generator. You can't make any marks or editing on there. But the other thing is, my goal is to provide you guys with a superfecta, a 10-cent super, or whatever denomination you want to play it at. I play 10-cent supers, using 3 of my top horses from the summary grid on top. And it looks like this. I have had a lot of success the last 2 days with supers at both Turfway, Oaklawn, and I actually even played one at Sunland Park today. I downloaded the Sunland Park PPs, and this is the format right here. Okay, these are the ones I've hit. As you notice, I have 3 horses on top: 6, 7, 9, 1, 9, 10, 4, 11, 12, 1, 4, 8, 2, 3, 4. And it's usually either 2 or 3 by 4 by 5 by 6 or 7, or I go 3 by 5 by 6 or whatever, okay? But what that allows me to do is not have to be so focused on being so microscopic on this grid and saying, okay, which is the horse or the two horses that I'm going to use on top. It allows me to open it up a little bit and throw 3 horses on top and make sure that one of them may be a value play, a nice 8 or 9 to 1 shot that's figuring somewhere on the grid. Now, if you do your homework and you go to equibase.com and you pull up the past result charts and you see where the winners are coming from at the second call, are they off the pace? Are they on the pace for that particular distance? You'll have a good idea of the bias of the track that day for the particular distances, the 1-turn and the 2-turn races. Now at Oaklawn, you only have to worry about one surface. It's dirt only. So if you go to equibase.com and you look at results from yesterday, the day before, the last 3 or 4 racing days consecutively, and just look at the different distances. If it's a sprint, where was the winner at the second call, and start making notations of each race. And that way, when you look at your grid, you can say, okay, which horses, let's say the bias is late. You look at your late runners from the grid, which we will do once I have this grid complete, and determine where are we going to go from there. And I'm going to pause the video, and you're not going to know all the time is going by, but when I'm done this, I'm going to pause the video. This is a 6 furlong race, and I'm going to go back to equibase.com, and I'm going to look where the winners were at the second call, and we'll put together our superfecta, our top players, based off of that data there. All right, so without any further ado, I'm going to get into it right now. So I'm going to go to my split screen, and I'm going to put this at the first on one half, and this one over here. And I'm going to make this larger, obviously, so you guys can see it. And I'm going to walk you through a few of the runners here. Okay, we're not going to do every one of them. But if you notice on the double Paceline grid, each runner has 2 rows for the 2 different Pacelines. And I have the formula set up so that they average out together, and you'll get your single data over here on the summary grid. So let's take a look at the 1 horse. The first race I decided to use was the last out race. We got a 22-4, which is a 96, and we have a 47, which is an 85 off of the standard. The E1 was an 83. E2 is an 80. -2, -1 for the pace shape, or the race shape. And then the target rating of a 108, we have a 111-4, is an 81. Now I just do my final fraction calculation. We have 47 to a 111-4, which is 13, 24-4. Off of 22 is an 86. And the pace rating happened to be an 86 as well. So we'll go down to the second Paceline, which I chose to use was the maiden victory here at 6 furlongs. And the same thing, we got a 98 off the 22-2, an 87, a 91, an 87, a 0, -4. Target rating that race was an 80. Final fraction, 13-2, 25-2, which is an 83 off of 22. And the pace rating was an 81. So we finished the 1 horse. And as you can see now, the 1 horse has been populated over here, averaging the data from those 2 Pacelines together rather than a single Paceline. Now we'll do one more, and then I'm going to stop. This one here, I decided to skip the 2 back race, only because it was 7 furlongs, and I was able to reach back one more and get a 6 furlong race at today's distance. So we have the last out race was 23-4, which is a 91. 48 and 2, which is at 78. We have an 82, 81, a 1, -4. Hopefully you guys are following along as I'm going across here. 82, 81, +1, -4. Now my target rating off the 114, or 114 off of 108 is 6 seconds. That would be a 70. Final fraction would be 48 and 2 to 114. That's 11 and 3 to a minute, plus another 14, which is a 25 and 3, which is an 82, 86 pace rating. And then 3 back, we have a 23 and 4, which is a 91, 85, 81, 86, -3, -4, 81 for a target, 13, 24 and 4, that's an 86, and a 93 late pace rating. Okay, so I'm going to pause and let me finish this up, and I will be back. Okay, I'm finished here, all 10 runners. As you can see, I've tossed the 10 horse, I've tossed the 6 horse, and I've tossed the 4 horse. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to evaluate my grid. I'll do a portion of it, and then I'll pause. We'll do the first 3 columns. We have a 95.5 on the 7. And then it drops to a 91.5 and a 91.5. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to go any lower than that. Now we move to the second early column. We have a 95. We have the 91.25. And then we have 2 88.25s. Okay, and then finally the third early C, we have a 95.5 on the 8, a 91.08, and we'll go one more. So right now the grid is telling us that the 7, 8, and the 1 are our main speed contenders for the lead. One of those 3 should potentially be on the lead if we're basing it off what the grid is telling us. The 1, 7, or the 8 should be on the lead, with the 2 and the 9 somewhat close to the lead, just off the pace. Now I'm going to do the rest of the grid, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to pull the biases from the last 3 or 4 days from Oaklawn, from Thursday on to today, and just for 6 furlong sprint races, and I'm going to see where the winner was at the second call, and we can base it on this grid. If the races are run the same tomorrow, the track is running similarly, we might be able to get a good idea of who we should use on top, and hopefully we can put together a good super that pays, you know, a decent amount. So I'll be back. Okay, so there were a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 races in the past 3 racing days at Oaklawn that were run at the 1-turn distance, either 6 or 6.5 furlongs, and each of these numbers represent the winner, where the winner, how many lengths off the lead the winner was at the second call, which was is the start of the turn. Okay, we have 5 lengths. We have on the lead or a head out or a neck out. I counted them as zeros, 0 lengths behind. We had a 1 3/4, 4.25, another on the lead, 6.25, 3.5, and so on, which averages out to 2.69 lengths or 2.7 lengths off the lead. What does that tell me, if anything? It's telling me that the average winner was somewhere between around 2.7 lengths or close to 3 lengths off the lead at the start of the turn. So now what I'm doing is I'm looking for horses that favor early here, but also shows sustainability in the finish and the turn and finish, because if they're 3 lengths off the lead, that turn's going to mean a lot. Their turn performance is either going to make or break their race. So I see the one horse here who is showing me something in all three early categories, and he's also third in both the turn and the finish. And he comes up with my top overall. So the one horse is going to definitely be one of my top plays here. Now, if you look at the two horse here, the two horse does show something in the early category, early B, which is the fractional, early fractions combined with the race shape. When I combine the race shape. So when I combine this 86.25 and I factor in the race shapes, brings him up to a 91.25. And he's also first in finish, and he's second in the turn / finish category. So the 2 is going to be one of my top plays too. And then let's look for a third one here to use on top of that superfecta. We look at the 3 horse. The 3 horse does show second in finish and first in the turn, but he doesn't show that he may be one of these runners that are within that 2.69 lengths when it comes to that second call. He may be a little further back. And again, I'm just relying strictly on what these past races at today's distance or distance type are telling me. It doesn't mean the horse isn't going to be a little closer today. Can't predict that. I mean, he's definitely going to be one of my, horses that I factor in here. But I'm going to take my chances probably and not use that horse in the top of my super. But once I look at these here and I see, okay, if I compare the 95.25, the 88.25, and the 91.8 with what we got here, this horse looks like it's going to be, a decent amount of lengths ahead of the 3 horse. And he's showing second as the overall early late performer. So I think the 7 is going to be my third play. And then I'll move the 3 down into the B category, which means he will be in the second leg of my super, along with the 8 and the 9. So my super would look something like this. First leg, 1, 2, 7. With maybe 1, 2, 3, 7. With 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. Let me make this a little wider. With 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. And if I want to play a second one, that one there is going to cost me, I think, probably either 960 or 1080. And if I don't want to leave that 3 out of the top, if I want to use 2 early horses that run well late, and also the 3 horse who runs well late, I might go with the 1 and 3 on top over the 1, 2, 3. Oh, let me make this larger, bold, centered. 1, 2, 3, 7. And if I want to choose one of these 2 so I don't have 2 larger tickets, maybe 1, 2, 3, 7, 8. You guys can mark this down. That way you can check this tomorrow. Race 4 at Oaklawn over 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so both of those plays are going to keep me under $20 for that race. And then obviously I'm going to take a look at any of these runners that, especially in the A and the B column, if they're going off at a good price. Let's take a look at the odds here. 1, 2, 7, 3, 8, 9. Morning line odds, we have the 1 is 3 to 1. The 2 is 4 to 1. The 3 is actually 7 to 2. So the 7 may be the horse I get my win value with. The 8, and then the 8's the long shot. 9's 5 to 1. So we're not looking at anything astronomical as far as the morning lines go, as far as what the grid is telling us. But that's what I plan on doing here for tomorrow. Okay, I plan on using my double Paceline at Oaklawn. Uh, I'm also going to look at the route races, the 2 turns races, and get what the where the winners have been coming from there. And I'll post these in the Discord when they're done. I haven't looked ahead to see how many other races I feel are playable based on the model. There's probably going to be at least 4 or 5 out of tomorrow's 10 races or 9 races that I'll be able to put a play in for. But if you have any questions or comments, please throw them in the comment section, and I'll get back to you, or you can email me. And thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon.